Hello, College of Extended Learning students with National University. My name is David Goyette. I'm teaching the CSET social science course. We're doing a little review on some of the essay topics that you may encounter during the next administration of the test, either in November or when you take it next. You'll notice in the world history section that I have a variety of topics there. What you might want to do is look over those and see which ones you feel are areas of weakness in your general understanding, your content knowledge, and then try to improve your overall knowledge of those topics. If there's something that you see that you're very familiar with, a topic, let's say about World War II or something that you've studied in the past, you need not respond to that. I just want to make sure that you address those topics that you recognize as helpful to increasing your content knowledge. Let's look at the topic that you'll see in the discussion this week. Explain the factors affecting the success of African independence. There's a link you can click there. By commenting on the Negritude movement, the efforts of Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, and the work of Jomo Kenyatta in Kenya. Analyze the origins of the civil war in Congo and Angola. What prompted Portugal to eventually grant Angola its freedom? So let's look at some of the history there. Let's begin with understanding that after World War II, you had, in the 1800s, Europeans had colonized a lot of this area, a lot of Africa, and set up all these trade outposts where in the imperial model they would, to a greater or lesser degree, suck all the resources out of these African colonies. And some of them were pretty rapacious, the Belgium Congo in particular, but also the British and French had their opportunities, as well as the Portuguese, to get a hold of the resources of their African colonies. And as they did this, they set up these outposts that remained there after World War II. Now, after World War II, a lot of these African soldiers had fought alongside their European compatriots, if you want to call them that, and returned home to Africa and said, gee, it's swell to liberate people in Europe. How about African self-rule or Congolese self-rule, or let's create a country called Zaire. Let's run our own countries instead of letting these Europeans run our nations. So they come back, and Africans resisted the return of colonial domination and initiated a struggle for independence and national identity. One of the ways this resistance to colonial rule emerged was in the Negritude movement, which celebrated African culture and heritage as well as values. This is going to lead to some nationalist identity as well. In World War II, African soldiers fought alongside the European occupiers to defend freedom. Now, having a taste of liberating others and creating freedom, they, in the 1960s and 50s and 60s, returned to Africa, and the soldiers searched for their own self-governance. And they're looking to set up sustainable democratic rule or some other form of government that will give them a national identity. So let's look first at the Gold Coast. So former British colony, the Gold Coast, is going to become Ghana. After World War II, Africans are elected to the legislative councils, so the British begin to have this kind of transitional sense that we should allow, if not ultimate freedom for these people, for self-rule, we should at least allow many of their leaders to occupy seats in the National Council, Legislative Council. One of the people who's going to step up is Kwame Nkrumah. Let me pronounce his last name correctly here. I always botch that one. That is going to be pronounced Kwame Nkrumah. And he is going to lead a nonviolent struggle with strikes, boycotts. He's imprisoned, much like a Martin Luther King type figure, and he's writing and trying to inspire his people to rise up against their colonial occupiers in a way that's nonviolent. In 1957, the Gold Coast becomes Ghana, and Nkrumah becomes the prime minister and president for life eventually. He dreamed of a United States of Africa, so he goes over to China to talk to diplomats about this idea of the United States of Africa, and a military coup occurs, and he is unseated from power in 1966. A military coup takes over while he's in China. Let's look at Kenya and Algeria. These were more violent uprisings. The British settlers resisted African self-rule in Algeria and in Kenya, or I should say African self-rule in Kenya. Kenyan nationalist Jomo Kenyatta is going to, along with the Mau Mau, fight against the British settlers. And the Mau Mau are these African farmers who go into the highlands and try to kick out the British settlers. They're a secret society that uses guerrilla warfare to attack the British settlers. And then in Algeria, we see there's about 1 million French residents in Algeria at the time, in the 1950s and 60s, and about 9 million Arabs and Berber Muslims. After World War II, the French did not share power with the natives. They ruled as colonial masters and did not give them seats in government. Because of that, the Algerian National Liberation Front, or FLN, is going to fight back against the French. The French are going to lose, even though they commit a lot of money and troops to the movement. And in 1962, July of 1962, Ahmed Ben Bella is going to lead free Algeria. There's a great, oh gosh, I'm going to forget the name of it. I'll come back to you on that. There's a great film that talks about that military campaign that's highly recommended, and for some reason I'm forgetting the name of it. The Belgian Congo. The Belgians rule ruthlessly. They plundered the resources and provided no services for the people, the Congolese natives. They did not make an effort toward a transitional government after World War II, so the people simply rose up against them harshly, and the Congo would then become known as Zaire, with Colonel Joseph Mobutu in 1965 getting hold and transitioning. And then by 1971 to 1997, the country becomes Zaire, which is known as the river that swallows all rivers. Mobutu Sese Seko is his name that he gives himself thereafter. He calls himself the father of the nation, and he rules for 32 years. He's going to be deposed by Laurent Kibala, and Laurent Kibala is later going to be assassinated by his bodyguard, and his son Joseph Kibala is going to take center stage. And eventually the nation of Zaire is going to be weakened by the Rwandan and Ugandan civil wars, and with the Tutsis and Hutus fighting, it's going to displace some power there. In Angola, you also had a violent situation. Portuguese 1975 Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola, or MPLA, which is supported by the Cubans. Cubans send about 50,000 troops to stabilize and help the MPLA run the government, and the Soviet Union also sends in aid. The U.S. government is going to counter that aid along with South Africa, and they're going to form the National Union for Angola, the Total Liberation of Angola. And that's going to be your period here of African self-rule. Look at a few more sources and add some comments to the Dropbox on my comments here. If you I think it's the Siege of Algiers I was trying to think of it earlier. But let's talk more about African self-rule and the period of post-colonial, post-World War II nationalism in Africa. If you come up with any ideas that you'd like to share, add those to the discussion board. And I look forward to speaking with you as we continue our course. Have a great week. Talk to you later.